Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Trained with the Akatsuki. This story is made by Tetsu-kuh, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. When Naruto awoke, he could hear a very familiar sound that made him shiver, imagining what his next few hours would be like. The scary man only brought in a couple people in the small room at a time, so it happened quite often. It was true, Naruto was a spectator sport, a freak show. However, this time, it was different. Naruto awoke to the sounds of laughter. He was used to the noise, for the people would do so when he was being beaten. Naruto was only 3 years old and he could barely speak. He was tough, after all, he was beaten day after day, night after night. It was all the same. Big pain, little pain, big pain, little pain. Naruto couldn't really remember anything much before he had got here. He didn't even know where here was. All he remembered was screaming for his life and being carried away to someplace away from the nursing school where he had usually slept. The little blonde boy did have a happy thought. He had a friend. He didn't remember anything about the person. He didn't even know what the person looked like. That person used to accompany Naruto at some point in time. Whether it was a girl or boy, he couldn't recall. All he knew was that when he thought of this unknown person, he felt a small bit of comfort, a small bit of hope, that he could somehow escape or flee the hellhole he was in. All that accompanied the short boy now was sadness along with loneliness. Something about the laughter outside the small room this particular morning gave Naruto a slight discomfort. He could not anticipate his day. He had never woken up to this sound before. He was afraid, fearful. He didn't want to stay awake. He wanted to go back to sleep. He wanted the day to be over so he would get his 6 hours of rest from pain. He wanted to go home. Home. That was a word which Naruto had learned by the age of 1. However, the word had now lost all meaning, all comfort. Home was nothing, just, a meaningless word, an empty word. Naruto lived in a cage that was inside a tent. He didn't have much room to walk around. Just enough space to extend his body to doze on the bright, filthy hay that he had under him. When it was show time, the scary man would drag him unwillingly out of the cage and set him standing up on a small pillar only about 2 feet high. Which was still high considering Naruto's age and height. The scary man would then take a whip and beat Naruto for what seemed like hours. After getting used to it, the pain subsided within a few minutes. But then Naruto would be taken out from his black, cubicle, cage and be beaten again. He had no scars on his back due to the fact that he had a demon sealed inside him that gave him quick healing powers. The demon inside him would quickly seal the wound until it was a small scab, then it would let it heal on its own. This was Naruto's life, day in day out, to obediently stand on a pillar in front of a crowd and take beatings from the scary man with the weapon of his choice. However, Naruto could tell this day was going to be different. The scary man stormed in the tent looking stern and furious as usual. He quickly unlocked the cage and opened the creaky gate. He stuck his arm in the barred enclosure, and grasped Naruto's left leg firmly and dragged Naruto's body out onto the floor, and out the tent. Naruto could not remember the last time he had been outside the tent. All he could see was the bright yellow and red colors on the walls of the inside. He had no recollection of seeing the outside whatsoever. When they finally did stop, the scary man let go of Naruto's leg and walked inside another tent, motioning for Naruto to follow suit. Naruto did as he was told obediently and entered the lime green tent. This tent was a bit smaller than the one he was used to. There the scary man threw Naruto's body in a semi-bigger cage that held another person just his age. It was a girl. She had blue hair and whitish-grayish eyes. She looked at him and Naruto noticed something about her that he quickly pointed out. "You cheeks all wed." Of course Naruto was still young, so he hadn't really developed much of a vocabulary and he had trouble pronouncing his R's. The blue-haired girl quickly turned away from him and avoided eye contact. Naruto then saw that there was not one scar on her at all. She was clean, just like Naruto. Then he wondered how she had ended up here. His silent thoughts were interrupted by the whispering of the scary man. The scary man spoke in a soft and hushed voice to the person right next to him. Lucky for Naruto, he could hear well, so Naruto caught every word the scary man whispered to his companion. You know why I put the kid here, don't you? The scary man asked. The man he was talking to shook his head in confusion. There is no future with this kid no more. He's not making money, not upholding the dough. That's why I brought him here. I need him taken care of, tonight. The boss is gonna have my B if I don't get rid of this guy as soon as possible. My N on the line, so don't forget, or yours will be too. The man gulped and nodded with wide eyes. Naruto was a smart boy at his age. He understood almost every word the scary man had said. After an hour, he finally pieced the words he did understand and realized that they were going to end his life, sometime soon. The man said tonight, but what was tonight? Naruto sat and puzzled at what time he had left. Then he stood up and decided, he had to get out of there, he had no other alternative, unless he wanted to S. Then Naruto paused, S. A terrible word Naruto understood even at his tiny age. When the people would come to see him, he could hear and see the people shouting the horrible word over and over again, repeating it as if it were a good thing to say. The question was, did he want to S? All he did was suffer here, and what could he do out in the real world? He was a tiny person in a big world. No, nothing was worth death. Nothing. He would not accept the thing that seemed so inevitable. He had to get out. But how? After countless futile attempts to break the cage, dig, squeeze through the cage, and eat through the cage, Naruto gave up and sat down. It was hopeless. He didn't know when tonight would come, but he was sure it was soon. He could see the sun fading through the crease of the door to the tent. Naruto's bunkmate had already fallen fast asleep. Again his thoughts slowly drifted again towards what was going to become of them. Naruto was full of terror once more. He remained calm instead of panicking hysterically like other babies would do. He sat down to ponder on ways to escape. It wasn't long before the sun had totally faded and left Naruto and his tent totally enveloped in black darkness. Now Naruto couldn't see. The only light that was even barely visible was the moonlight in the crease where Naruto had saw the sun. Suddenly, after what seemed like hours, and it probably was, Naruto saw the same man the scary man was talking to enter the room, staring blankly at Naruto with his left hand behind his back. He seemed to be hiding something. Naruto was not afraid. He wanted to know the answer to his question, when was tonight? The man then walked toward Naruto's cage, but before he could reach it, a man walked in. The man wore a black cloak so nothing was visible even through the weak moonlight that was shown. The only thing visible of the man was his eyes. His red eyes that were visible even throughout the darkness. The next thing happened so fast. The man looked straight into the red eyes and after 2 seconds of eye contact, fell to the ground foaming white stuff from his white lifeless lips. The man seemed to twitch on the ground with his eyes rolled back his sockets so that Naruto only saw the whites of his eyes. The man held a needle in his left hand which was slightly perceptible in the moonlight. Then, the man in red eyes then glared at Naruto and came nearer to him. Instead of opening the gate to the cage with keys, his hand just ripped it open and tossed it quickly to the ground. He stuck his hands in and placed both his hands just under Naruto's armpits. He lifted him up from the smelly straw, and took him out of the cage. He lifted Naruto's shirt up and looked at his belly. Naruto then saw something about him for the first time. He had a swirly thingy on his belly that he had never seen before. The man with red eyes then carried Naruto with his right arm, and carried the blue-haired girl on the left. He checked her belly too. However, she was clean without anything at all. However, he did not put her down. He carried both of them in each arm and walked. He walked and walked and walked. There was total silence throughout the night except the occasional crickets chirping here and there. After the man walked and walked for a long time, they reached a pair of stairs. He climbed them and there was no end. Until they finally reached it. There was another man waiting outside for them. He then spoke. You found two? No, I'm found one, but I'm leaving this one out here for her to be picked up. You've really gone soft, Itachi. Don't make fun, Sasori, or I will have your head in my arms just as I do these two. They both started walking and after a while, the man with red eyes named Itachi, placed the blue-haired girl, in front of a door. This is where she belongs. The Hyuga residence. May she grow up strong-willed and skilled in order to protect herself and comrades. Itachi said. I don't care, just take the blonde kid and let's go. Sasori said, his voice rising. Keep quiet, we don't want to wake anybody up now. So without another word said, they left the big place that had big gates, and Naruto lost consciousness after that. Born and raised by each member of the Akatsuki, Naruto grew to be a very skilled ninja. He would spend 1 year with each of them. 10 Akatsuki members, 10 years later. Naruto is now 13, and ready to complete his first mission, acquire the demon vessel that will enter the Chunin exam. Naruto couldn't believe Itachi was giving him the chance that he had wanted for all of eternity. He was finally going on his first mission alone. Yippee! Naruto shouted in the middle of the forest in Fire Country. Naruto was being accompanied by Itachi up to this point. His orders were clear, especially since Itachi had repeated them hundreds of times. Now, this is where I leave you, Naruto. Don't fail us, we didn't train you for nothing. Now, you will be paired up with the demon vessel so you won't have to worry about finding that person. Now remember. Naruto smiled and finished the rest of Itachi's sentence. Don't hurt him, just see him and bring him back to the base. Got it. Don't worry about me, Itachi-san, I won't let this mission go astray. I'm focused, and excited. Naruto said as he jumped up ecstatically. Naruto wore a very large cloak that almost touched the ground. The cloak was to cover the other cloak that he had under, his very own Akatsuki cloak that he had received just a few days ago. Oh, one more thing before I forget, Itachi said as he reached into his cloak and pulled out a headband made for Naruto. It's your cover-up. Well, sort of, as from now on, you are an official member of the Hidden Sound Village. Good luck. Naruto was handed the forehead protector and quickly put it on. With that, they both headed separate directions, speeding off and dashing through trees to reach the destinations. After a few minutes of hopping from tree to tree, Naruto stopped and landed on the soft grass beneath him. Oh yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot, I need my teammates. Thank my Neopaksu-sama for this one. Naruto formed a small amount of hand seals quickly and stopped at the tiger seal. Suddenly, out of the earth formed two people, a boy and a girl. The boy had long black hair, reaching to his shoulders, he wore a green t-shirt, and black jeans. The girl wore the exact same thing, except she had brown hair and it was a bit shorter than the other boys. Alright, I think we're ready to enter the village of Konoha, don't you? Naruto asked the two teenagers he had just created. They both said the same thing at the exact same time without any emotion at all, yes. That was all the information Naruto needed to take off once again to reach the hidden village of Konoha, the village where the Chunin exam lay ahead. Welcome to the first exam of this Chunin exam. In this room you will be taking a written exam. Let me explain how this works. There are 10 questions as you can see on your desk. For each question you get right, that's a point. You and your teammates all must pass in order to advance to the second exam. Morino Ibiki explained once all the genin were seated in the large room full of rows of desks. Just like a regular academy in Konoha. However, Naruto never had been to an academy, he was only trained to K, he was a tool, for the Akatsuki. He didn't mind, but now he was very tense, every single question on the test was very complicated. He could barely pronounce the words, let alone figure them out. There was only one option left, to copy. By the way, those who are caught cheating, will be thrown out immediately. This test is designed to be hard, but some of you may make it. We have Chunin to the left and right to the room to catch you if you are cheating. If you are caught, then you and your teammates must leave. Morino Ibiki said again. Hold on a minute, a voice said somewhere in the large room. There's no 10th question. Morino Ibiki smiled slightly, so you've noticed. Once 2 hours, ready or not, I will repeat the 10th question once and only once. The 10th question is 10 points. Once the written exam starts, there is to be no talking. Wait. Naruto glanced back to see a girl in pink hair and green eyes raising her hand. She frowned and then said, but that means that if answered correct, the 10th question allows you to pass the test even if you get all the others wrong. Good observations, all of you, that is a fact, but now, it's time to start, ready, go. Naruto needed a way to figure out a way to cheat, but how? He quickly glanced to his right and left, already he could see that the process was working. He then slowly closed his eyes thinking back to when he was first training with the Akatsuki. It was probably his third year of training, with Kisame, or who he liked to call, Fishy-san. Naruto put his hands together and very softly said, Kahatsu number jutsu. Naruto then focused his eyes on the person in front of him. He stared at the black leather jacket with a dragon symbol on the back as very tiny water drops fell onto the boy's paper. Amazingly, it did not leave a wet mark or such a thing that could be traceable. However, every droplet that fell on the boy's paper showed on Naruto's. All his answers at least. Naruto didn't have to write a single thing. He just pretended he was working and let his jutsu complete the process. When he was done, he looked around and saw that other people, in fact many people, had already completed their test. However, there were the select few that still were confused out of their minds, scratching their heads and rubbing their chins. When the 2 hours were over, Morino Abiki finally spoke. Now here is the 10th question. But here's the catch, you may decide to take it or not take it. The choice is yours. But I must warn you, if you take it and miss it, then you will never be able to become a Chunin. If you leave, so do your teammates and you may be ready next year. Decide now. Many people in the room tensed up. Some not for themselves, but for their teammates. Hands were being raised left and right high up into the air for all to witness their embarrassment and bravery. The Chunin on the sides of the classroom were shouting out the team numbers of all people who had raised their hands and told them to exit the room full of tension. Naruto sat back and smiled. I don't have to raise my hand one bit. I don't have any teammates and I know already about the 10th question. I feel sorry for those who are leaving. Not really. A good long pause was expected as the genin left the room. However, once the last of them closed the door, Abiki smiled and said, Congratulations to you who have passed the first test. There was no 10th question, but as you can see, it has lowered the room's numbers by more than half. However, there are a lot more than I expected. Actually, I don't think we've ever had this many people pass the first test. Oh well, your numbers will still go down soon enough. The only window in the room shattered to tiny pieces as a woman with purple hair flew through them and landed in front of Abiki. Alright everyone, follow me to the second test. There was a silence throughout the room and then as all the genin stood up, the woman named Anko led them out the door and outside the forest. The forest was fenced around the perimeter and there was barbed wire at the top. There were many warning signs posted on the fence saying beware and keep out. Anko explained the situation of the second test to the remaining genin. Alright, now I will each assign one of the 2 different scrolls there are to each team. There's the Earth Scroll, and the Heaven Scroll. The objective, children, is to acquire one of each scroll and reach the tower in the middle of the forest. You do have a deadline, which is 3 days. Eat what you can to stay alive, but as the signs say, beware, for there are many poisonous things in this forest and I'm not just talking about the food. However, the catch is, you won't know who has which scroll, so you must fight somebody for the right one. Also, this may be the Chunin exam, but that has nothing to do with surviving, the only safe test would be the first one. So be alert at all times. Good luck. Wait a minute, that means that only half of the genin here will be able to pass on. A tanned person in a dark coat shouted as he frowned. That is true. Also, somebody may just take more than they need and keep the scrolls themselves, preventing all those people from advancing. Again the crowd of teenagers tensed up and became serious. Anko then assigned each of the genin teams a scroll behind a stand that had a curtain. Each team will be positioned at a different entrance to the forest. Remember 3 days, 2 scrolls, and 1 life. Go! Anko shouted as all the gates around the fence were released. The teams dashed from tree to tree deep into the extremely large forest hoping to find a team weaker than them to fight. Naruto took his time walking through the grass, not worrying about anything. Okay, now we don't really have much worthy opponents or so I think. So we can take our time and when we come to someone we'll fight them and take their scroll. Now, we have the Heaven Scroll, we just need an Earth Scroll and we'll head for the tower. Naruto informed his 2 teammates. He didn't really need to but he liked the conversation anyway. Yes, the boy and the girl said again. Naruto sighed and continued to walk but picking up the pace a little. Sure enough, he encountered a team consisting of a black-haired guy, a fat brown-haired guy, and the pink-haired girl with green eyes he had saw earlier. Hey you all! Naruto shouted at them. What kind of scroll do you have? Earth, the fat kid said as he pulled out a bag of potato chips and started chomping on them eating like a piranha. The pink-haired girl punched him in the arm and said, Chuji. Don't tell him. The black-haired kid then said, I think it's a little too late for that, Sakura. Don't worry, these guys are weak, I can feel it. Or at least the blonde one is, the other two are actually pretty strong. We better not underestimate them anyways. The girl named Sakura nodded and then said, alright Sasuke-kun, I'll try my best, Chuji too. The fat boy named Chuji looked up from his plastic bag of food and said, what? I don't remember saying anything like that. But another punch to his arm came swinging with immense speed once more. Sharingan, Sasuke shouted as his eyes transformed from solid black to be red. Wow, so you must be Itachi-san's little bro, huh? Naruto said smiling. This may be fun. What do you know about my brother? Sasuke demanded. Naruto scratched his head and then said, I'll tell you what, take the scroll from us and I'll tell you all I know. Sasuke smirked and then said, get ready. But before anything had happened, Naruto grinned and said, no need, it's over. He then held out the earth scroll in front of them. They all gasped in amazement and horror as Naruto walked straight toward the tower. Wait, I won't let you take our scroll like that. Give it back. Chuji shouted as he charged at Naruto's team. Chuji no. Sasuke shouted as his teammate rushed toward the unknown fighters. But it was too late. Chuji took footstep by footstep towards his enemies, but even before his large body had been able to reach within 2 meters of them, he was brought straight down to the ground. Sakura ran towards Chuji, tears streaming down her pink cheeks like a river. Naruto and his teammates walked off out of view and left his enemies to take care of their own problems. After a few hours of walking, a very familiar voice spoke to Naruto from behind a tree. As the person stepped out, Naruto gasped in surprise. So there is someone who would be a challenge for me. What are you doing in the Chunin exam, Orochimaru Dono? I came to see if there would be any new containers for me. Orochimaru said casually. Oh, found any yet? Naruto asked in a friendly manner. Only one, informed Orochimaru as he stared intensely at Naruto. Naruto got the message and then warned, don't try it Oro, I'm just as strong or even stronger than you. It would be fatal to even get in my way. Orochimaru smiled deviously and then asked, since when has my pupil ever been cold B? I'm not your pupil anymore, that was many years ago, I'm here on a job for the Akatsuki. You were once with us, why did you leave? For reasons I can't explain to you, you're so kind Naruto-kun. When will you learn that a strong shinobi must be ruthless, cold B, stopping at nothing to carry out the mission? Orochimaru asked. We have so many different points of views. You know why I'm here, can you direct me in the direction of the demon vessel? Naruto said. I'm afraid I'll take my chances at risking my life to fight you. I cannot let you pass, informed Orochimaru as he took his usual stance of fighting. Had you left later, you would have seen that I accelerated in my abilities by 100-fold. Are you sure you want to challenge me? You would have needed to increase by 1,000-fold to have defeated me. Get ready, Orochimaru shouted as he leapt off of the tree and shot straight down at his blonde opponent. Naruto jumped back a few meters and bit his thumb. He performed a small series of hand seals and his open palm into the ground. A large dragon standing 30 feet tall appeared flying at an incredible speed toward the snake-like man. The lime green dragon quickly swallowed Orochimaru, bringing him all the way to its belly. Suddenly, from inside the dragon's intestines, Naruto heard a sort of muffled voice shout, "Seiatsu no jutsu." The green dragon jumped as if it had been hit with a high-voltage jolt. Its eyes turned to glowing red. The dragon looked directly at its new target, Naruto. It charged at its creator, flailing its wings back and forth with great power, giving it speed. The blonde shinobi thought fast and quickly performed more hand seals and stuck his hand out in front of him. "Ishidzukuri no jutsu," Naruto shouted. The exact moment that the dragon had touched Naruto's hand, it turned to stone as well as the contents inside the dragon instantly, causing it to fall and shatter into large pieces. I'm sorry Oro-san, don't worry, I'm sure you'll get out of it later. I will not be accepted as a container. That's just the way it's gonna be. Anyway, see ya, Naruto said as he walked off again towards the middle of the forest. Although Naruto was the first to claim both scrolls, he wasn't the first to reach the tower in the middle part of the forest. There was a team from the hidden sand village that arrived before him. Naruto did reach the tower right after though. He came at the end of the first day where he then rested on a comfortable mat lying on the floor. Soon enough, by midday on the second day, many other genin started to arrive. On the third day, Naruto saw Sasuke, Sakura, and Chuji, bandaged up on his back and front, arrive the tower holding both scrolls tightly. The team from the sand that had arrived first, carried more than 7 scrolls altogether. Anko was right, there was less than half than there was before. When they had all entered the building, they were escorted to a large room with grey tiles on the floor. About 20 feet up high, there were rails for people to watch whatever people did in this room. The room was very dull, with a big statue at the end of one wall. They were brought into the dull room full of dust, and greeted by the Hokage of Konoha. Welcome, before you all congratulate yourselves on passing to the third exam, you must wait. For there are still too many people to participate in the final round, which is the tournament. However, we will have a preliminary tournament to reduce the crowd once more by half. Then there will be enough people. The computer will randomly select 2 fighters to battle each other. The victorious one will advance to the actual tournament of the final test to the Chunin exam. But before we begin, is there anybody who wishes to quit? With all this information, every genin was stunned. One genin asked, "We have to fight in this condition?" However, the answer was obvious. There was one genin who raised his hand. He had silver hair that was tied up in a ponytail and circular glasses. He then left the crowd followed by his 2 teammates. Now let us begin. I, as Hokage, will introduce you to the referee during the battle. I am proud to present, Junin Geku Hayate. The Junin named Hayate stepped up in place of the Hokage and said, "Alright, now here's how it goes. Just defeat your opponent. I will decide if they are done or not. You stop when they are unconscious or s. However, I will stop you if you go too far. Good luck." The first fight we have is, Akamaiki Chuji vs. Dosu Kinuta. The man named Kinuta stepped up in the middle of the floor as all the other genin moved up the stairs to the railing above. Chuji stayed behind and took the place opposite of Kinuta. Chuji glared at his opponent with unbreakable determination. Once the battle had begun, Chuji charged at Dosu but missed as his opponent moved aside and pushed him to the ground. Chuji got up and rushed at his enemy again. This time, Chuji didn't get a little push, he received a punch and 2 kicks which sent Chuji's fat body flying through the air. Above, Sakura was rooting for Chuji to win, but in her heart, she knew the poor teen didn't stand a chance. No matter how many times Chuji tried to beat Dosu, one way or the other, he would just end up on the floor getting up again. "I'm tired of toying with you, I'm going to finish this in the next move," Dosu proclaimed. "Then so am I," Chuji shouted as he put his hands together shouting, "Baika no Jutsu." Chuji rushed at Dosu once more attempting to punch his nose. Dosu simply moved out of the way as usual, however, Chuji whirled around and with his left leg, jammed his foot at Dosu's stomach causing him to vomit from the force, then fly backwards a few feet. As Dosu skidded across the ground, Chuji shouted, "I will now hit you with my meat tank." Chuji then grew in size, as if he were being quickly inflated like a perfectly round balloon. All 5 of his limbs, however, stayed at regular size. Once Chuji reached a height of 10 feet, he took his 5 limbs and retracted them inside his body, now forming a perfect and humongous sphere. Dosu got up and saw the huge ball rolling toward him swiftly. He jumped out of the way leading Chuji to ram the wall. He was immediately uninflated and fell unconscious from the force. Hayate lifted his arm to his left and said, "Winner, Dosu Kinuta." Next match, he paused to look back at the big screen on the wall to see who was next to fight. Chishu Otonoro vs. Chishu Otonara. "Oh boy, this is awkward," Naruto thought as he scratched his head. Both his fake teammates had been called up to face each other. So they walked casually toward the middle of the floor. Who should I make win? Will it be a close call? You know what? I'll just let them fight themselves. Begin, Hayate said as he jumped back to avoid being in between the 2 fighters. They both stood there staring blankly at each other. "Well, do something, guys, fight. Fight until one of you is defeated," Naruto shouted in his mind at his 2 made-up teammates. That was all they needed. The only problem was, they both had the same mind, so they would both do the same moves. What? No. That's unfair. Why did my teammates have to KEACHOTHER? Now I have nobody to talk to. Naruto shouted, punching his fist at the wall. He sat down in embarrassment as all began to stare. Okay, that was weird. Anyway, next match, Uchiha Sasuke vs. Sama Sama. Hey, it said. Naruto jumped from the rail and landed on the ground saying, that's me. Sasuke did the same but without the introduction. Tell me, what do you know about my brother? Sasuke demanded once again once the fight had started. Neither shinobi budged but just conversed for a while. As I said before, if you beat me I'll tell you. But I have to make it to the next round. So I'm sorry but I won't let you pass on. You're gonna stay again and as long as you're fighting me. Naruto said. But lucky for you, I'm gonna end this quickly for your sake. Naruto reached into his first coat and pulled out a handful of tiny beads, each only the size of a rice grain. They were clear blue. I've made this myself, it'd take me hours to forge even one, but I don't really want to fight much, so I'll just use up years of effort on you and finish the battle quick. Advice, don't fight it, you'll get hit more. You can't dodge it, I have really good aim, and I can control them as they fly through the air. Sasuke didn't wait for his opponent to say any more, he charged at him straight forward pulling out a kunai in both hands. Naruto threw the small blue beads at Sasuke who hit them full on. As soon as the first bead touched its target, it exploded into a small blue sphere made of chakra the size of a baseball. However, it was a chain reaction, each bead spread out all over Sasuke's body, and once being hit by the chakra sphere, exploded into one just like it. Sasuke screamed in pain as the attack finished leaving shreds and rags of his clothes. The battle was over, Naruto had won and he didn't even take a step. Winner, Sama. Hey, it said as he pointed to Naruto. Sasuke. Sakura screamed as tears flew from her tear ducts. She rushed to Sasuke along with the other Chunin to pick up his unconscious body and rush him to the medical room. There's no doubt about it, those were Razingans, how did he get that move? There are only two people that I know of who can successfully pull that off. One of them is S. The Hokage whispered to himself. Next battle, Rock Lee vs. Temari. Hey, it shouted as Naruto went up the stairs back to his place on the railway. As Sasuke and Naruto, both shinobi jumped down from above. Lee was a weird guy who had a perfect mushroom H, thick eyebrows, and he wore a very unusual green outfit with bandages at his arms. Temari was a pretty girl that had blonde hair, she also carried around a large fan to fight. Lee sunk his head in sadness for having to fight a girl, this only made Temari enraged and encouraged at the same time. Although she did not show it, Temari was furious. We'll soon see who's the girl here. Temari said, shifting into her fighting stance with her fan spread out in back of her. Lee also moved into his stance with one arm behind his back and his back bended slightly backwards. Begin. Hey, it shouted and then jumped back as usual. Lee rushed to the right ready to curve slowly towards his opponent. Temari, however, didn't want to be even close to the black-haired freak. With one wave of her fan, Lee was sent back flying either wall. However, he stood up quickly and tried again, this time jumping over the gust of wind heading toward him. Once he landed, Temari tried to blow him away once more, however, Lee crouched to the floor and rolled 6 turns barely out of the way of the air pressure. He was quickly gaining feet closing in on his opponent. However, Lee wasn't the only one who could move. As soon as Lee finally reached Temari, he jumped up and twisted around swinging his right leg across towards Temari's head. She ducked and scarcely avoided the flying and twirling kick to her face. Instead it just brushed the tips of her ponytail. But Lee wasn't done. Once he saw that his attack was going to be dodged, still in the air, he brought his left leg swinging upwards. Temari got up and flapped her huge fan over and over swiftly towards Lee. Lee managed to evade the first couple gusts of wind, however, soon enough, he was being blown all over the room from wall to wall, and his opponent controlled where he went. But finally Lee was able to take advantage of this chance by pressing off against a wall with his 2 legs and gliding straight toward Temari like a bullet. Good fighting. I never expected you to be this good. Lee was panting holding his knees when he replied, thank you very much. But you've managed to tire me out ramming me from wall to wall. That hurt but I'm not going to give up. Even though I can't use any ninjutsu or genjutsu attacks. Temari smiled at this comment. Really? She then jumped high into the air, and when she was at least 20 feet high, she spread her fan out once again and glided around the room. Occasionally she would swoop down and deliver a taijutsu blow to Lee. Then she would go back up high into the air where Lee couldn't reach her. "You're mistaken if you think you can win that way," Lee shouted. He climbed the large statue and stood on the head, standing level with his opponent. Under his orange clothing over his shins were weights. It became clear once he removed them. He held them out in each hand and dropped them. The clash was catastrophic, causing holes in the ground, shattering the tiles easily and reshaping the landform. Temari as well as many other people widened their eyes in bewilderment. "I'm coming," Lee said as he disappeared into the air and reappeared right next to Temari, kicking her and knocking her off her fan, and onto the tiles 20 feet below, knocking her out. "He's teleported," Naruto said, surprised. A man that looked just like Lee except older said, "He didn't teleport, he's just that fast." "Impossible," Naruto said. "Winner, Rock Lee." "Hey," it said. Lee jumped up for joy and then carried Temari to where she was standing on the railing and placed her lightly on the ground. Her fan was also with her. Next battle, Gaara vs. Abumi Zaku. Gaara was the person who had finished before Naruto. He was also in the same team with Temari. He carried a large gourd on his back. He had red hair, and a red Japanese symbol tattooed just above his left eyebrow. He disappeared within the sand surrounding him and appeared on the gray floor using the same sand to move from one place to the other. Zaku jumped down from the rail, as confident as ever. The match was over in less than 5 seconds. Basically, before Zaku could defend himself, he was crushed by the sand that overwhelmed him. The next battles were exciting to watch, but Naruto appeared stronger than all of them. Finally, after the preliminaries were over, the Hokage congratulated the remaining genin and showed him the list of who was to fight who during the Chunin exam. Naruto didn't even need to see it. He already knew exactly who he was fighting: the demon vessel, the person that made his mission complete, Gaara of the Sand. Go and train for 1 month, come back to participate in the final round where you will fight in front of thousands of people. The Hokage said, smiling. Everybody in the room gulped. But they were relieved. The worst was over, for now. They all went home to their families as Naruto left Konoha to return back to base. "It's fine really, I petrified him. It should take his henchmen weeks to cure him, and that's if Konoha doesn't find them first. Well, my mission is pretty easy, however, I've already located the demon vessel, he shouldn't be much of a problem with someone like me." Naruto reassured the Akatsuki members at the base, who he liked to call family. However, the Akatsuki members were not reassured. "That is unacceptable, Naruto, we must dispose of that filthy piece of waste immediately." "However, why did he attack you in the middle of the Chunin exams? Orochimaru is smarter than that, he knew how we would react, yet he kept on," Itachi said, concerned. Naruto grinned, saying, "Oh, Itachi-san, I had no idea you loved me so much." The other Akatsuki members sniggered as Itachi shot him down with an evil glare. Okay. Look, me and Fishy-san will go and get rid of him, how's that?" Naruto asked Itachi, placing his left hand on his blue friend's right shoulder. Kisame growled and quickly pulled away from Naruto's hand. "Stop calling me that, I swear I'll K you." Naruto jumped back and shouted, running off in the distance, "Fishy, fishy, fishy." Before Kisame could take a single step towards his blonde prey, Itachi then said, "Kisame, you know what to do, get rid of him, and don't get caught. Also, Naruto will accompany you, it'll be better for him to feel some fresh B." "I don't think he'll want to," Kisame said questionably. "He doesn't have a choice, he must K eventually, better start now, it's his side mission, tell him." Itachi said harshly, then walking off into the darkness of the cave along with the other 7 Akatsuki members. Naruto hopped from tree to tree, playfully knocking the 50 feet tall trunks to the ground as he went. Kisame was soon right behind him, grabbing Naruto by his cloak. "Let me go, Blueby. Don't call me that. Naruto, how many times do I have to tell you, you are like a kid? Grow up, you're part of the Akatsuki now, learn to be one." Kisame ruthlessly. Naruto dropped his head in shame and apologized. Then the blonde shinobi and the fish-like man dashed off, reaching deeper and deeper within the forest. "Kisame-san. Do you know how I was found?" Naruto asked, questioning his blurry past. "I can't really remember anything, all I remember is waking up and I was 3 and I started my training the next day. Itachi found you, then he brought you back. That's all, nothing else happened. Kisame shouted, obviously hiding something. Gosh, whenever I try to go there, everybody says the same thing. I want to know what happened, wouldn't you want to know about your past? Naruto said sadly. Look Naruto, don't get all mushy on me, it really won't work, we're all S-rank criminals, we don't have time for chit-chat, we must think up a plan, and carry it out. We have to consider the limitless possibilities of what will go down today. Stay low, we can't get caught by Konoha, or else we're S-rats. Kisame said, changing the subject so Naruto would forget about it. But Naruto persisted, but Fishy-san, I just want to know why everyone is like that. Why do we need the demon vessels anyway? The two shinobi came to an abrupt halt standing in a large branch 60 feet up. Just get over it, kid. Clear your mind, because if you don't, then you're going to have trouble fighting today. Also, you've got to make the K, it's your assignment for this particular side mission. But, no buts, I'm sick and tired of you not wanting to K anyone. We all put our time and effort into training your sorry bee for 10 years, and all you can do to repay us is say you don't want to K. Be reasonable Naruto, think of others, you're not going to let your whole life have gone to waste, are you? So that's what I am. Some kind of tool, some kind of weapon. So you can use me whenever you like. I'm sick and tired of you all ordering me to things for you. If you want to K him, why can't you K him yourself? Naruto said angrily, waving his arms in the air to demonstrate his frustration. This is the life you chose, you will follow by. I didn't choose anything. Naruto shouted in his friend's face. I never asked to be trained, all of a sudden, I wake up and you train me to K. I never asked for any of this. Kisame still had something to say, oh yeah. Well, who was the one begging for their first real mission because all the others were no challenge? Let me see. Oh yeah, it was you Naruto, you. Now if you don't like it, tough, deal with it. We've got a job to do and we're going to do it. Now let's go. Naruto rubbed his eyes before continuing, being careful not to show how hurt he was to Fishy-san. Who was he? Why was he trained all of a sudden? He needed to know his past. He had to find out. There was only one thing to do for now, complete the mission, carry it out, and that was exactly what Naruto was going to do. He was going to K Orochimaru. So this is it, huh? Kisame said softly, crouching slightly, observing his surroundings. Yup, and this is the dragon I summoned, which he was trapped in. Naruto said, standing tall with both hands on his hips. I got him all right. Don't get too proud, he escaped, Mr. Expert. Kisame said, concerned. What? Naruto screeched, his loud obnoxious voice echoing throughout the forest. Realizing what he had done, Naruto cupped his hands over his mouth and received Kisame's scolding. After the small incident, Kisame pointed at the dragon's jaw. Look at this, Orochimaru is smart, Naruto. He wouldn't fall for such an easy trick. He escaped right under your fingers and you didn't even notice. The jaw was closed shut when you tried to petrify the dragon. However, you took no notice whether if it was open or closed. That's why he was able to get away. He dislocated the jaw and switched himself with this. Kisame then placed his right index finger on the petrified tree trunk inside the mouth of the dragon. That's why, this was a trap. You were careless, Naruto, and now, Orochimaru has us right in his grasps. Naruto could hear the demented laugh above him and his ally. They both looked up, to see exactly who they were expecting, Orochimaru. A very smart observation, Kisame-san. Orochimaru said with a devious smile. Unfortunately for you, I knew they would send only 2 of you. Which is why I came prepared. At that last sentence, shinobi appeared all around the 2 Akatsuki members and surrounded them, outnumbering them 200 to 2. What are you smiling about, Naruto? Kisame asked angrily and nervously at the same time. Because, I know, for a fact, that we can take them. You sound pretty nervous, Fishy-san, that's a first. Naruto said with a grin as he whirled out a kunai, twirling it with his middle finger. He stopped it, grasping the bandaged handle, leaving the blade facing down. Ha, 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 ha. You amuse me, Naruto-kun. This will be fun. One last chance, Orochimaru said, leaving small room for a hopeful answer. I told you, Oro, you can't grant me what I want. Do you know what that is? Naruto asked, still keeping his wide grin from ear to ear, showing his white, gleaming teeth. And what is that? I'll tell you what it is, power. Power, Oro-sama. Now, shall we get that started? Naruto said, raising his kunai towards his snake-like enemy. Very well, if that is your choice, I suppose I will give you the inevitable much more earlier than I had hoped, death. Orochimaru said with the same scheming smile. Naruto, Kisame said as he clutched his hands together, forming the first seal of the combination. That was all Naruto needed to understand. Got it, he shouted as he rushed off to fight the 5-sound shinobi rushing toward them. After Kisame had finished completing the series of hand seals, he shouted, Doshiburi number jutsu. Within 5 seconds, the sky grew dark, the wind grew harsh, and the whistling sound of death filled the air as pouring rain fell from the darkness above. The water rushed down the tree branches and poured all over the ground, getting everybody soaked beyond measure. It only got worse. Severe winds carried not the small raindrops but the gallons of water and spreading it all over the forest like a plague throughout the land. It was almost impossible to breathe, for there was downpour everywhere. Shinobi were now fighting blindly, all the shinobi, except Kisame and Naruto. They were built for this, trained especially for the weather. Now, Kisame shouted to Naruto as both of them quickly formed a few hand seals, shouting in unison. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. Suddenly, hundreds of water clones appeared, forming out of the deep puddles that were created during the storm. Now the odds were even. The battle was catastrophic beyond measure. Every sound nin were being s at each point they stood. Occasionally a water clone would be defeated only to be recreated once more out of the flood that had now brewed. The water surrounded the forest and was even 4 feet deep in some parts on the ground. However, Orochimaru was helping his side by a lot. He was taking on Naruto and Kisame both at the same time. The battle wasn't looking very good for either of the sides. If the rain kept pouring and the wind kept blowing, then Konoha Anbu would soon arrive. You have improved, Naruto, Orochimaru said under his evil grin. Kisame fell to the ground at Orochimaru's feet. Fishy-san, Naruto shouted as he formed a chain of hand seals and then said, holding out his right arm, Daija Futoud. From under his Akatsuki sleeve formed a large snake from Naruto's arm. It extended not toward Orochimaru but Kisame. It hastily curled around his flat body and retracted back to Naruto, bringing Fishy-san along. The extended snake uncurled from Kisame's body and transformed back into Naruto's human arm. Orochimaru smiled, then licked his purple lips, saying, looks like you're in need of a little help. Let's go, Naruto, our work is finished here. Kisame said as the sky cleared up to reveal a bright sun already doing its job of drying the land and shedding light throughout the nation. The Anbu will be here shortly. The 2 Akatsuki members left the forest and went back to the Akatsuki base. However, there was one drop of water that the sun did not dry up, and it lay on Naruto's right arm. Chunin exam day. Naruto entered the stadium floor and took his place next to the other genin. He did not wear his cloak this time but normal shinobi uniform, much like the one Kakashi always wore. Naruto looked to his right straight into his opponent's eyes, who gave him a glare. The deathly stares were broken when Neji came to sit in between them. After the Chunin exam stadium filled up, the final test began, starting with the match of Lee and Neji. I bring you sadness, Lee, for you cannot beat me. Your loss was determined the moment you were picked to be my opponent. Neji said as he shifted into his stance, bring on arm down low and the other up high into the air. Lee altered his position into his fighting stance as well. Neji-san, I bring you a genius of hard work. The match had started, and Lee was off into the air behind Neji even before Neji could make a move. Lee twisted his body a full 360 degrees and gave a good side kick to Neji's head, sending him flying a nearby bush. Neji got up as Lee shouted, Tekken no Jutsu. Blue chakra surrounded Lee as he rushed at Neji at an even faster speed, charging the Hyuga with his shoulder. Again, Neji had no time to react, therefore, causing him to fly the stadium wall, causing bits of rubble to fall. Lee slowly walked towards Neji until he was in range of Neji's new attack, the Hack Rokujuin Show technique. Neji shouted his newfound technique, rushing at Lee, hitting him with 2 fingers, blocking his chakra holes. The surrounding chakra around Lee faded as Lee lay on the ground in pain. You've made a mistake, Neji-san. You must have forgot, I don't use chakra. Lee shouted as he rushed at Neji at a normal speed. Hack Show Kaiten. Lee tried to stop himself at that point from rushing forward, but it was too late. Neji spun around, creating a chakra barrier that was used in an offense and defense way. Lee soared through the air like a dashing bullet, skidding across the grass, causing dirt to rise. Wow, they're weak, Naruto thought, as he slumped down lazily and closed his eyes for a brief moment. The ear-splitting sound of Naruto's fake name awoke him. Naruto looked around and saw that most of the battles had gone by. There were winners on one side, and some losers still stood, but some of them were in the emergency room. Naruto looked down into the field and saw that his opponent was waiting for him, stand straight with his arms crossed. Whoa, how long was I out? Naruto asked himself. Unfortunately, he got no answer, so he jumped down to the battlefield to face his opponent. When the battle began, Naruto spoke in a voice so that only his opponent could hear him. Listen up, demon. I don't care what your reasons are for this, but you will not win. The Chunin exam ends here. I'm taking you. You can either cooperate, or. However, Naruto was see off as a bunch of sand from the gourd on Gaara's back charged at him quickly. Naruto barely managed to dodge, however his hand was caught and wrapped around in the process. The sand then managed to crawl up Naruto's left arm from where it had caught his hand. Naruto whipped out a kunai and managed to at the incoming sand. His opponent stuck his hand out and clenched it, creating the sand to squeeze Naruto's hand and forearm, breaking all those bones. Naruto screamed in pain as the sand left his arm and regrouped with the other sand inside the gourd. Naruto could see that with one arm broken, this was not going to be an easy task. You're lucky we need you, he shouted for all to hear. However, Naruto didn't care. He rushed at Gaara, dodging the incoming sand. However, his fierce punch was blocked by a sand shield right before Naruto could hit him. He dashed away, trying to figure out a way to defeat his opponent. I can't really use any genjutsu or ninjutsu because I have one useless hand. I'm going to have use only taijutsu with 3 limbs. But he does have a shield, how could I do this? Meanwhile, sand was unnoticeably building up in size behind Naruto. Naruto finally noticed once he was in the shade of the sand. But it was too late. The stadium watched in horror as the sand built over Naruto and crushed him beneath the waves. A cloud of dirt rose and filled the air and blinded the stadium from even the simplest glimpse. Finally, when the dirt rose and cleared, the air was clean again and free to breath. The audience looked back down into the stadium. What they found was a blonde kid. That blonde kid was standing over Gaara, who was now unconscious. Gaara had cracks in his skin and had an unconscious face of pain. He lay at Naruto's feet, who was looking down, full of sand all over his clothes and face. The audience was now confused at the sight they now witnessed. They needed an explanation. That was exactly what they got. He broke my arm, giving me a very big disadvantage, not being able to use any ninjutsu or genjutsu. So, I had to act fast. It wasn't until later that I realized that the sand was above me. However, I noticed just in time, because if I hadn't moved, not only would my arms be broken, but my whole body would be too. Yes, he crushed my other arm, which left me at an even bigger disadvantage. The Hokage stood up, finally figuring out the occurring events. He pointed at Naruto and shouted, "Seize him!" Shinobi from all places in the stadium jumped down and rushed at Naruto. Naruto slipped his right foot under Gaara, kicked him up approximately 50 feet in the air, and jumped up after him, then carrying the unconscious demon on his shoulders. He then leaped to a seat in the stadium, continuing his explanation on how he beat his opponent without any arms while dodging Konoha Shinobi left and right. Constantly moving from place to place, Naruto said, "So then I finally was out and undetected within the rising dirt. So nobody could see, and neither could Gaara, which gave me the opportunity. I jumped over him and gave a hard kick to the top, crushing the sand shield beneath my foot. My foot followed through and kicked his head, knocking him out. And that's my brilliant victory. Now, I'll have to get back to base and take Gaara with me. I'll see you all." But before Naruto could jump, Kakashi, the Hokage, Asuma, Kankuro, and Temari jumped and surrounded him. Oh shoot, Naruto sighed. This is going to be a lot of trouble, especially since I have to carry this redhead freak on my shoulders and I have no arms to use. No, I can't fail my first mission. Who are you working for? Kakashi asked, demanding an answer. I won't tell you anything. Let's get this started, Naruto shouted as he jumped up carrying his opponent. The 5 shinobi jumped up after him, each forming hand seals quickly. Naruto swiftly moved backwards and gave a powerful kick to Temari's head, which then clashed with her sibling's head, Kankaru. That kick both took him down, and Naruto continued his run out of the stadium with 2 Chunin and 1 Hokage after him. Poof! There was an unexpected person standing ready to meet Naruto as he ran, Orochimaru. IKU. Naruto shouted as Orochimaru's punch connected with Naruto's face, sending him flying back a few meters. Orochimaru. The Hokage shouted as he prepared to fight the snake-like Sannin. Relax, old man. I've got a debt to pay, but still, nobody bought it considering all the past times that Orochimaru had betrayed Konoha. But Orochimaru paid no attention to that fact and continued to rush at Naruto. Naruto was able to dodge every single one of everybody's hits, however, he didn't have any time to look around to see where Gaara was nor try to hit anybody back. He was at a huge disadvantage, and in a few more minutes, he would be history. He had to do something, and fast. Time was running out and so was his energy. Every minute a new shinobi would jump in to help the battle, which would then only make Naruto work harder and faster. Each second exhausted Naruto more and more. Soon enough, just like he predicted, his movements had started to slow down and he was now getting hit here and there. The battle would soon be over. Bam! Kakashi gave an overwhelming blow to Naruto's C, which made Naruto fly by the stadium wall, crushing the metal behind him. He lay on the floor too exhausted and hurt to stand up and defend himself. He couldn't breathe and had a devastating pain inside his C. He lay there looking at the small white clouds with his azure melancholy eyes for a split second. Then a sudden thought crossed his mind, which would have an impact so great, it would change history. Naruto could see that this wasn't the life he wanted. He wanted to be your average day normal shinobi and to be able to have free time. He wanted a peaceful life, not a dangerous one. He never got to make his own decisions before his first mission. His arms were broken, he couldn't breathe well, and he was probably going to S. He didn't want this to happen. He wanted to know about his past, where he went wrong, what he did, why he had the life he has now. He wanted so many answers to so many questions. Answers needed time, and that was exactly the thing Naruto didn't have. Time. Then, the world around him seemed to drown with silence. Slowly, before he went completely deaf, he could hear screaming and shouting. But all he could see was the small white clouds, so peaceful. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.